Book, what up, baby? Coach, this is one of the best profile pics I've seen in a long time, man. Hey, Boogie, what up, man? JJ, what's good? Oh, y'all live tonight. Everybody live tonight, boy. A lot of shout outs on here. You bringing them out, Coach. Welcome to episode 74 of the Positive Impact Podcast, where we talk about all topics relevant to the game I love. I am your host, Terrell Dozier, and tonight you might hear some stuff from me that I ain't never said before. You might see some emotions from me that you've never seen before, because tonight's special guest tonight is, I don't even know, I don't even have enough time to explain what this man means to me. Former coach, mentor, second father, everything to me and a lot of other, Mr. Jere Quinn. You see the connect button, Coach? Right, Rel. You should see a request, Coach. I'm going to blame this one on you, Matt Quinn. You the head of the school. Oh, man. We got to get Coach back on here. Where you go? Oh, man. He might be on the landline. He got to have a tutor there to help him out with this. I need Schlager there to help him out something. Y'all give me a second. Let me reach out to him. There we go. There we go. There we go. Man, you.
I went from the phone to the iPad. I am so technologically savvy.
We know. Listen. I already blamed the head of the school for this one.
Oh, you know what? The one thing about me, T, I've always accepted ownership of all my screw-ups, and trust me, my man, there have been plenty. Always good to see you.
Oh man, you don't even know what this means to me. We got people up on here right now, man. You mean so much to so many people, man. And I ain't even gonna say too much more. I gotta get through these 45 minutes without all my emotions coming out. But so first things first, man, I ask everybody is how you and your family during the pandemic.
Everybody's good. You know, it's hard when you got a bunch of grandkids and you got a bunch of kids and you got kids all over the states but you know, we all get through it, and you know, you stay patient, you stay positive, and you do what people recommend, and you social distance, and the family's great. You know, the wife is the best, so I overachieved 100% on that call, which means she underachieved.
I agree.
I would not disagree to that in a heartbeat, anyways.
Oh man!
And if I did, I'd be told. If I did, I'd be told I was wrong, anyways. It doesn't really matter.
Nah, no question. So, take me back. Let's go far back in the journey.
Okay.
And let's go back to Queens, New York, man, and let's talk about. Obviously, this game has done so much for you, and you've given so much to this game. How did you fall in love with this game?
You know, I grew up in Flushing, Queens, and I grew up, you know, right across the street from a park. So I got 8 brothers and sisters in 9 years. So you weren't really ever allowed to be in the house. So we were always thrown at the park, and it's just something that I fell in love with. My dad was a basketball junkie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I've always been passionate about it. I could watch it, read it, look at it, play it. So it actually kind of worked out for me. It worked out for me.
No question. And so Archbishop Malloy for high school?
I played at Archbishop Malloy, but I wasn't one of those guys who had total success through high school like so many other kids. Mm-hmm. Matt's coming in. I got it to work. It took me a minute.
Tell him he's off the hook now. He's off the hook now.
Terrell says you're off the hook.
Culture, I heard the comment about me being head of school. Recognize I'm also his part-time IT guy.
Absolutely. Jack of all trades, man.
You know, high school basketball was interesting because I went to high school at 4'11".
Mm-hmm.
So I made the freshman team, and then I got cut my sophomore, junior years.
Wow.
But but I never gave it up, and then I made my team my senior year.
Mm.
And I grew that first year from 4'11" to 5'4", and then by my senior year I was about 6'1", 6'2". But I always played, and back, you know, growing up in the city, you just played CYO. So my junior year, I probably played 60 to 70 games of CYO basketball on a couple of different teams. And I think that's where I really learned how to get better.
So talk about, you said you had to be in the park all the time. Is that where that pretty jump shot of yours came from?
Well, I didn't develop that till I left New York, because in New York, all you had to do is take it to the rim. You had to go downhill. It was about athleticism. You know, you couldn't really shoot outside that well, so everything was at the rim. But that happened when I went to Central Connecticut, and what they did back then is they'd only give in-state scholarships.
Okay.
So when I left New York at 18, I never went back.
Wow.
And I had to live in. I lived at Central Connecticut. I got an apartment by January of my freshman year, so I could get an in-state residency. So when the financial aid package was just a little more beneficial to me. You know, because like everybody, you know, money was huge back then. My dad, what he'd do is he'd help us all go to a good high school, and then college was on our own.
Nah, no question about it. And so, I mean, 40 years plus at St. Thomas More now. How did that come about? And did you envision then how far you've come right now and everything that you've accomplished?
Well, like everybody who played college basketball, the first thing I wanted to do afterwards was play professionally. But my senior year, I blew out my knee. So, and back then, the surgeries and things just didn't come as quickly. So I I got operated on the spring of my senior year, and back then it was like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I did like a kind of a gap year between jobs, and I was hoping to get overseas, and the team I was supposed to go to kind of folded. So my head coach, Bill Dietrich, who was a great man and a really good mentor to me, recommended me teaching and coaching, and he said he interested. I said no, like every 22-year-old, I just want to play the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up being a nice option.
Right.
And I jokingly say, it's still temporary. I'm still looking. But it's actually been a great place to meet people and raise a family and coach some kids, and I really wouldn't give it up for anything.
So, talk about your first team. You've had so many great teams over the years. You've coached so many great players. But talk about that first team that you had at St. Thomas More.
It was actually kind of interesting. Because I took the job. Actually, I started school in mid-September.
Okay.
I was interviewed in August, and I was actually working at a place called Long Lane School, which was a school for state delinquents.
Okay.
And they were all systems. And although I liked helping kids, I knew that wasn't the direction I wanted to continue. So when I was offered this opportunity, I kind of jumped at it. But I had to give my 2 weeks there, which, certainly fair. So I came in a week or two into school. And it was just so different. Like they didn't really have a lot of players, but we had great people. And till this day, a lot of them are, I've stayed very close with. And when we got here, there was probably 9 or 10 kids. And then we added a couple of football kids. And, like every young guy, I thought I was just going to dominate everything. And we won our first couple of games. And then we went like on a 15-game losing streak.
Mm.
And, because we were fast breaking and pressing. And then I kind of looked at the team. I said, well, maybe this team isn't built for that. Go for that. So we adjusted, and we won like 16 games in a row to ended up above 500, and won our first game in the New Englands. And then lost in a triple overtime game in the semifinals to the eventual winners. The kids kind of got better, and they really enjoyed playing with each other. But it was different.
Yeah.
Back then they were all kids, just kids from New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. It isn't like it is today.
Right.
It was a regional place.
So fast forward, I got to fast forward to this fall of 1991. And, I remember, needing a place to go to school after high school. And, I remember this videotape coming in the mail. And, and me and my grandmother and I popped this tape in, man. And it was just these kids walking down the sidewalks with blazers on and shirts and ties on, and sight unseen, she was like, this is where you're going. Like, what I mean? And at that time, obviously prep school wasn't what prep school is today. Right. And I remember being in that place, in that gym for the first time, man, and kind of getting a taste of your coaching style. Who influenced your coaching style?
It's probably a compilation of my high school coach, Jack Curran, which is a legendary
legend.
And so is Bill Dietrich. I mean, Bill Dietrich, I actually, Terrell, was fortunate enough to play in high school and college, 2 guys who were lifers at the place that they were at. Coach Curran never left Archbishop Malloy, and Coach Dietrich played in Central Connecticut, and then never left Central Connecticut. So they were each demanding people, but at the same time, they were people you could come speak to when the day was over. Mm-hmm. So, and it's coaching in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s is really kind of different than it is in the 20s.
Right.
But as I said, my aspirations back at that time, you always want to be a player's coach.
Yes.
You want to, lace them up and play with the kids and shoot around with the kids and show them that you had something.
Right.
But I've always tried to let my kids kind of freelance a little bit and play. And, I tried to make them feel comfortable in the game. And I wanted all 5 kids to be a threat. Wow. I've always had that concept of all 5 kids got to be an offensive threat.
Nah, no question about it. So when my class got there, you were still playing basketball a lot. Like, you know what I mean? So you were still in shape, getting up and running. And, I remember for me, when your coach is out there playing and pick up with you, you know what I'm saying? That I think for us was like, okay, well, we ain't really got no excuses. If this guy is out here running and playing D and doing whatever, we better do it too. And quite honestly, it was the first time in my life, and I'm sure in a lot of kids' life, probably when they get there, we're so celebrated in high school. And I strictly recall being on your team, and I wish I was 250 pounds now. You know what I'm saying? And so if I was 250 pounds now, everybody be looking at me like, oh, you look great. But I remember you saying, if you want to play here, you got to get your fat ass in shape. And to this day, I don't know.
Adorably fat ass.
And I don't know how I did it, but you were hard on us, but at the same time, like nobody ever took it personal. You know what I mean? And I think that was the thing that was the greatest thing about you, because you're brutally honest, you're tough on all your players, but there's nobody who really leaves there and saying that this man doesn't care about us. And I thank you for that. But just talk about like how you developed. Did that develop over time? Because I'm sure you had some bad coaching days, right? So you had to figure some things out. But how did you get so good at that?
You know what? It's something I really liked and something I kind of paid attention to. And I always thought coaching is really a form of teaching. And I really always enjoyed teaching. And then I mentioned my wife earlier, and she was a counselor. And I think it's a form of parenting. And I was very fortunate to have a couple of great parents. And, I come from an extended family. And the one thing about our school was it was a school that was built on family. It was built on community. Mm. And, I decided a long time ago that the success of St. Thomas More was not going to be based on wins and losses, although we've been fortunate, had a lot of them. But the success was going to be based on relationship building. The success was going to be based on college placement. The success was going to be based on, at the end of the year, I always wanted to be able to look a kid in the eye and say, man, I gave you my best, and and I think you did as well.
Yes.
And then hug it out at the end of the day. And, as I said, I've always known I've never been perfect. I've always known I'm going to make some mistakes. And the one thing about it is when I've made mistakes, I know them. And I've never been that vain to not be able to apologize to the kids as an individual or to the kids. Because I've jumped some kids, and afterwards I looked at video, I said, whoa, I was out of line.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, I'm sorry. I screwed that one up. But one of the things I've always said, one of my first speeches is, listen, it's a long road. You're going to make some mistakes. I'm going to make some mistakes. And I've always tried to finish with the entire group that we started with. And that's always been very important to me.
No question. And honestly, like I did a post-grad year there, like you had to mold teams, and it's not like a high school where you got 4 years to grow with the particular team. Like we kind of come there for 1 year, or some of us come there for 2, like, or whatever the case may be. Right. And you have to mold those teams into championship level teams. Like, I talk to a lot of my old teammates all the time, and we don't know how we gelled that way. You know what I'm saying? So it's either the individual kid that comes in their mindset, because face it, right? Everybody's coming to St. Thomas More for a reason, right? We're trying to get scholarships. It's really about me, and you only have so many opportunities, you know what I mean? But you really have to buy in, and you did a great job at making kids buy in, right? Because basically, like when you come to St. Thomas More, it's my way or the highway anyway.
Well, right, and we've always been very transparent about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't fake who we are. Mm-hmm. We were an all-boys school in a rural environment. Now everybody's talking about a bubble. St. Thomas More was a bubble long before bubbles became vogue.
You better believe it.
We were the thing. But I think one of the reasons we've had our most success is that you guys have decided to come. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we've talked about with all our guys, if you decide to come, you got to change. There's some things you need to change. And if you want to bring all your luggage, leave your luggage at the door, mm-hmm. Try some new things. Life is change. Mm-hmm. If you're not comfortable changing throughout a lifetime, it's going to be a boring life. Mm-hmm. In the world of basketball, what we've always tried to do is have the kids keep their strengths and mitigate some of their weaknesses and develop some of their weaknesses, whether it's, ball handling or shooting or ability to communicate with a teammate, ability to come off the bench. I mean, as you stated earlier, every kid we have on our team is a player. Yeah. Every kid we have is a player. I mean, from the top to the bottom. And it's one of the things we tried to do is find a way to mold them all, because the bottom guy is as important to a team as the top guy.
Right.
Everybody makes that meal work. It isn't it isn't an appetizer. It's everybody together. And you know, one of the things, as you recall, I was never a big fan of running people to death, but if the place was boring and you guys weren't communicating and you guys weren't having fun, then it's like, okay, if we're going to make it a miserable day, let's make it a miserable day and let's run.
Yes.
If you guys were working hard, I was comfortable. And I always thought my job as a coach was to be creative enough to run a practice where I didn't have to run yet. That at the end of the practice, it's like, wow, we had a good workout in. It was a good time. All right, let's get out of here.
Nah, no question about it. And I I remember those things even when I coached for a little bit. One of the things that I always did was I let kids make mistakes, right? So you let us make mistakes. But I remember we were playing Riverside Church, and you know, I was a stickler for fundamentals, but I didn't box out. And one of our guys got dunked on. And I could have made 100 mistakes. I could have missed 100 shots. I could have threw passes away, but you didn't box out and you got a teammate dunked on. The timeout was called just to yell at me and to sit me down. And those are the things that kind of stuck with me, right? Because you got to let, you know, kids make mistakes and they don't want to look over their shoulders, especially in those types of situations. But team first here. Team first. And, you know, team first.
Physical mistakes are part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are going to turn the ball over. Nobody wants to turn the ball over. Nobody wants to miss a foul shot. Nobody wants to miss a layup. Nobody wants to miss a dunk.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain thing mentally is I think as you get older, T, I mean, when you played for me, you were a wonderful athlete, and everybody was a wonderful athlete. You came in, you're 6'5", 6'6". Everybody's as big as they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, most of the kids are as strong as they're going to be. Now we're just going to refocus that body.
Right.
Most guys can shoot the ball.
Right.
Okay, now we got to start thinking.
Right.
You know, it is you know, the best college players now are the kids who stay in front of the video all the time and watch video.
Mm.
You know, I just think you just need to, you know, one of the things I try to do is, you know, our kids are going to be successful. I'm just trying to pick the pace up.
Yeah.
All our kids are going to be good.
Yeah.
But they can't do it on their routine anymore. Now I have to do it on my routine.
No question.
So, as I said, you know, even to this day, you know, I meet with the kids. I said, how many times this year have I said that's a bad shot?
Mm.
I said, but how many times I said I'm taking you out because you didn't run back? How many times I take you out because you didn't spend hard enough?
Right.
I said, those are the things, because really everybody in college can score.
Mm-hmm.
But not everybody can play defense, and those are the kids who are playing. No college coach is going to take the best defender out of the game.
Right.
No college coach is going to take the best rebounder out of the game.
Right.
You know, but so I've always tried to hold kids accountable for things that we work on. You know, if we don't work on it, that's once again, that's on me.
Nah, no question about it.
But as you recall, we worked on boxing out just about every day.
Yeah, we did. And you know, the other thing is, you know, it's funny the small world that we have in this St. Thomas More brotherhood that's been established. You know, so I talk to guys all the time, and probably like the biggest consistent story that everybody tells is when it comes to recruiting, right? Because we all thought like, nah, this is where I want to go. Like I want to go here, I want to go there, and everybody's kind of got a story about talking to you about, listen, I want to go here, and you being like, nah, you're going here. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I know Terrell Myers is on here. He talked about wanting to go to Georgetown. Nah, you're not good enough, money. I know I said I wanted to play Division I after 2 years of junior college. Nah, T, you're going to junior, you're going to D2. I know Rome wanted to go somewhere. Now you're going to go to Bryant. You're going to be great. And like 9 times out of 10, you were right. And it's the funniest thing in America because it hurts. And we, you know, Terrell and I talked about it on his interview. It's like, you know, coach sits up here and puts a, you know, pops our balloon and pops our dreams. And then later on, we got to go babysit Matt and Mikey at the house. Like, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting. Tom Konchowski, who's a close friend of mine, says that he says there's D1, there's D2, and there's D3. So there's so many kids. Like it's like so many guys want stuff, but there are things being offered to you that's fabulous. And I just try and help you guys through the maze. And like you, as a you know, you easily could have been a Division I player, but I didn't think back then with your inconsistency as a student, and it certainly wasn't because of your aptitude, because you're as brilliant as any guy we've ever had. the lack of structure in the junior college in your freshman year, you probably would never have graduated college. So it would have been a shame. And then if you look at that domino effect, it's like, look what you're doing for young people. Mm-hmm. And as I said, and as we all know, you played for me in '92. It's like, oh my goodness, that's 28 years ago, and it feels like a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. You know, and Terrell, like, I want to go judge that. You know what? These schools want you so badly right now. Mm-hmm. You will go. As one of the things I've always said is go to where the head coach wants you the most. Right. You know, if the head coach wants you, you're in. Mm-hmm. And Phil Martelli was in love with Terrell. Yeah. Even with his inconsistent efforts on defense. that was a perfect style for him because Phil liked to outscore people. Yeah. You know, as I said, basketball, college basketball, it's very similar to relationships. You know, it fits. This is the thing that works for you. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like you've all done is you've gone and you've all had great successes at the places. You know, it used to be like no one would leave a place that they're being successful at. Mm-hmm. You know, now, unfortunately, that's changing. Yeah. In today's collegiate world, is like kids are having successes. Now you have people watching them so they can move into a different level. It's just, mm-hmm. You know, I've transitioned with the game. That's one of the things that I don't know if I'm happy with it. Yeah. You know, but I've certainly, you know, it's the way of the world. Like everything, you know, you have to transition. It's kind of interesting when you sit around and said, like, I'm actually coaching in my sixth different decade this year. Yeah. So it's just like, okay, you have to stay with the kids, you know. And one of the things people ask, are the kids any different from when you played T and the kids I'm coaching now? And I don't think so. Mm-hmm. You know, I think they, you know, want to be loved. I think they want to be hugged. I think they want to be taught. I think they want to be, I think they want to get better. You know, I think we have high levels of expectations, and I think we kind of push kids towards those. Mm-hmm. Do I think you need to sit down more and talk to kids more now? Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think with your group, I used to tell the dozen of you, and it was accepted. Mm-hmm. Now I tell the dozen, then I have to go back to one or two or three or four or five kids and say, this is why. You just have to explain more. Kids are more comfortable being explained to. Mm-hmm. But you still have to explain that it's really not going to be a democracy. Eventually, I'm the guy who's going to make the decision. Right. But I think I'm making the decision what's best for the group. Right. No question about it. And so, you know, talking about that, like the difference of then and the difference now, like, you know, you and I have spoke before, and to this day, you've never spoken to my grandmother ever. And my grandmother never called the school, no nothing. No. She was like, this is where you're going. He's going to take care of you. And that's exactly what happened. Like, there wasn't people around us that you needed to talk to, or there wasn't people in our ears. You know what I mean? What's the difference of that now? Because your grandmother and I, you know, we had so much in common because I think she knew what was best for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you weren't having a conversation. You weren't having a conversation about that. Yeah, no question about it. What's nice about the prep school world is you really get to know your kids quickly. You get to know them outside of the gym as well as inside of the gym. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm in your dormitory. I'm eating the same meals that you guys are eating every day. Yeah. I'm driving the bus. You know, I'm with you guys all the time. And mm-hmm. I've always tried to be there for our guys for something more than just basketball. No. You know, need me, I'm there. But, you know, honestly, when it comes down to it, you know, I have four of my own kids, and Matt, who's 6'6", played Division I, and Mike, who's 6'1", mm-hmm. Stretch 6'1", you know, played Division II. I had two daughters who could played Division II. So could Mike have played Division I? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Would he have the same experience as he had playing at Bentley and going to 3 Final Fours? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. Right. Absolutely not. And my daughters also, you know, wanted to play Division II, and, you know, you can tell I love you because I told my kids like, you know, you're gonna go, you're gonna graduate, you're gonna play some basketball, and then if you want to make some noise in the world of basketball, there are so many avenues for you can do it. And now, you know, you're working with the City Rocks, and you're working with kids, and you're doing podcasts. I mean, this is a great way to kind of keep your hand in the mix. Mm-hmm. No question. And so now we have this like pandemic. Mm-hmm. Tell me how difficult it's been basketball wise, getting kids in now, and how much that's changed the landscape of grassroots basketball. You know, I've been fortunate. A few people have reached out to me, and it's really difficult in a pandemic to whine about sports. When you see over 300,000 people, unfortunately, have passed. And, you have kids who all they want to do is play basketball. Some people have a tough time understanding that, but I don't, because that's the group of people that I deal with. And this year, what we actually did is we only brought in postgraduates for the postgraduate team. We have some high school kids. Exponentially, we're getting more kids reaching out to us this year than we ever had. So a lot of prep schools, not just St. Thomas More, are considering doing a second team. I would love the NCAA to come out and say something about the class of 2020 and 2021 and 2022. Unfortunately, these kids in these years are going to get a roar into the stick. It'd be nice to say it's all going to work itself out. I don't think it's going to all work itself out. Some kids who are Division I players are going to have to go Division II, and some kids who are Division II players should go Division III. Right. I mean, to find a spot on the team this year is invaluable. To find a spot in the prep school is important. Unfortunately, the kicker is, who gets penalized here is kids with less money. It's the world, at least at St. Thomas More, the world of prep schools, we're a tuition-based school. And with the number of kids who want to come, we've always used our facility, our program as a part of the school to help, keep the school running. Right. So if we'll certainly help. We certainly give out financial aid and the like, but it's hard. You hear some kids who have nothing, and they were hoping basketball was going to be the conduit to get them where they needed to go. And, they're another 6-foot guard, and there's a million 6-foot guards who think they're Division II players or low Division I players. And without kids leaving colleges, everybody's got another year. I have people calling me up and say, hey, listen, if you know a good Division II kid, we'll take them. And these are all Division I players. Division I programs. Right. Because coaching a 23-year-old Division II kid a lot of times is, more productive than coaching an 18-year-old kid with potential 4 years down the road. These people are they're doing their jobs, and their job is to win games. So they're going to continue to function in that way and keep looking for the best players, and they want immediate. We're in a society where everybody wants things done immediately. Right. Actually, yesterday. Where here it's not that important. Right. Although I'm probably working harder this year to place kids, because as you know, in September and October, we've used to have about between 150 to 200 schools, come through our doors to just watch our kids. And this year, what we do, Terrell, is we're live streaming every workout. We're live streaming every game. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for the kids. It's a challenge for the coaches. It's a challenge for colleges, because even colleges, they don't even know who's coming back. Right. And then the NCAA said everybody's allowed to transfer. Right. Kind of like the Wild West.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
Hopefully athletic directors are patient with their staff of the lower division programs. Because they're the ones who I think are going to get hit hard.
Over 1,000 wins. Over 1,000 wins. Nominated for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You're already in the New England Basketball Hall of Fame. So is my team, by the way. Terrell, Jason, anybody else who's listening. And you've been there for over 40 years. Did you ever think about leaving? Could you ever see yourself coaching somewhere else? Like, what made you stay at St. Thomas More?
It's actually funny. When you first got the job in the late 70s and early 80s, we jokingly used to say guys who coach in college just don't know how to teach history. They were just basketball guys. And the differential fiscally wasn't a lot, and the hours were exponentially ridiculous. And there weren't really any NCAA guidelines. And the first job I really talked to was with Tom Penders at Fordham. And he said, Quinny, you're going to have to be on the road about 200 nights a year. And he says, I know you just got married. And he said, do you like her? I said, yeah, I do. I said, I don't know if you're going to like this job then. So have I thought about leaving? Of course. I think if I left, I probably would have, gotten a major job eventually and either still been coaching there or been fired from it.
Right.
But I know for a fact I wouldn't have the same life I've had, and I wouldn't have the same relationships that I've had, and I wouldn't have the same family I have. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to kind of find anybody who's recruited more kids and placed more kids than I have, you know, and, you know, that's the reward. And, you know, every time I see somebody like you or somebody, you all say thanks. And honestly, too, you guys have given me more than I've ever given you as a collective whole. So, you know, I think if it's a win-loss, I think I kind of certainly won out on this one.
Yeah. Nah, and shout out to Judy, your wife, man, because and shout out to your 4 kids too, right? Because it's tough, right? They have to share their husband, you know, she has to share her husband, they have to share their father, you know what I mean, with all these kids over the years.
When we had everybody playing at the same time, Jude was in charge of about 120 games a year. And she handled it with grace and dignity.
No, she did.
And an intermittent look at me, but I just acted like I didn't see it.
Nah, and I think that's huge, you know, that you guys have done it. And like I said, you know, Matt and Mike and Colleen and Caitlin, you know, they grew up around basketball and all these big brothers that they have. I think that's the beauty of St. Thomas More. So you guys were right there on campus, like, you know what I mean?
When you see who my son's friends are, you know, kids from like Matt, like his peer group was a kid, Kenji Tsunaga from Japan, and then Ajo Dang from Sudan, and a kid, Jeff Thompson from Maryland. It's just like, oh my goodness, you know, here's a kid from Montville. Look at his peer group. And Mike, you know, Mike, who lived in the gym since he's been 4, you know, and everybody knows Mikey, you know, it's just, he's gotten a chance to meet so many diverse people. It's like when you're in Montville, Connecticut, and you can live on a diverse campus, you know, what a great way to, you know, raise a family.
Nah, no question about it. So the court now bears your name on it. What is that feeling like to walk in there, right? Because you're synonymous with it, right? It's no different than
you know me, I've never looked for individual accolades anyway. And you know what, I've really just done what so many high school and prep school people have done their whole life. You know, they've worked at schools, they've worked with kids. I mean, my wife Jude was a counselor in the public school for 37 years. I know so many people, so many peers of mine have been in education their whole lives. I mean, I just had a couple of better players every now and then, so I got a little bit more love. But I see that, you know, it's nice. But the only reason I have something like that is because I've had great kids. I've had great kids who really worked hard and who decided to take a chance on, you know, it's actually a mutual risk. You know, you guys took a chance on me and I took a chance on you. And I've always firmly believed if you want anything done well, you have to work hard. And I preached initiative, doing things on your own, and I preached integrity my entire career. So, and I'm never going to waver from that, you know. So I always want to be the first in the gym and the last to leave. It's nice that my house is just right up the road, so I can get here quickly.
Right, and the door was always open. So you know, what I mean, like I tell this story a lot, man. You know, I came home, a friend of mine had passed away, and you know, I drove down from New Hampshire and I stayed in Connecticut, and I came right to the house, and nobody was home, but I knew the door was going to be open. You know what I mean? And it wasn't, and when, you know, when you got, like, nobody was scared that I was there. It was like, oh, it's just him. Like, you know what I mean? And those are the things that, you know, like, you don't take for granted, because you don't get that with a lot of people. And in today's climate, I think what's crazy is, like, the amount of love that all of us have, right? A guy like me has so much love for this white guy, you know what I'm saying? And because there's so much disconnect between the races in our country now, man. And you know what I mean? So, like, it you know, like, and you're my basketball coach, but you were more than a basketball coach. But to somebody like Rodney Crockett, who played football, to a Dave Monsell, who's on here, who was just a regular student at the school, you mean just as much to them as you did to me, but you were my coach. You know what I mean? You know, you're supposed to mean that much to me. You know what I mean? But even to all the kids And I think that speaks to who you are as a person. You know what I mean? That you're not just impacting 12 to 15 kids that you coach on a daily basis. You impact every kid that comes on that campus. And, a lot of times we say these things when people aren't here anymore, but I need to say these things now while you're still here. Like, I feel like even if you don't want to, you need to hear the impact that you've had on not just me, but so many other kids that have come on that campus. So,
thanks. I mean, it's, of course, we all love compliments, and it certainly means a lot. But I mean, I can't say it enough. It's, that's a mutual respect. Because I've seen what you guys have done, and it's just so rewarding.
Yeah, no question. And then the crazy thing is for me right now is, we talking about babysitting your oldest, man, and I forget how old Matt was when I was there, but this little kid that we used to babysit and have to put to bed is now running the school now. You know what I mean? And so, that encompasses the family. And so what was that like for you, and how proud is it for you?
It's interesting, when you look at a younger generation. I mean, the first thing Matt did was when he was offered the position, he changed his title. Mm-hmm. He changed his title from headmaster to head of school. Mm-hmm. And I said, Dad, why'd you say that? He said, Dad, you kind of become entrenched. He said, that's just a negative term. Mm-hmm. I said, oh my goodness, I was just living a life. I didn't really recognize that. Mm-hmm. And what's really kind of neat was he has his own ideas of how to run this place. And, and I'm actually part of a team, but that he's leading. Mm-hmm. And what he's really doing, he's trying to make this place really like a sports concept academy, where it's going to be excellent academics, which has always been. And then, and 3 of your 8 classes you're always going to take are sports related, from individual workouts to strength and conditioning. The foundation 100% was laid by James Hanrahan, the founder of the school.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Him and his family have been wonderful to me. They've been wonderful to kids. And the founder was actually he left coaching at Fairfield. He was the basketball coach at Fairfield prior to coming here. So the foundation is really good. But, Matt looks at things younger.
Yes.
And he looks at things differently than I look at. And I sometimes sit back and, I'm really in awe of what he's done. It's really, really impressive where, now we have excellent baseball and soccer and excellent football and excellent basketball. And he's got this place going in the right way.
Nah, no question. Shout out to the little bro. Shout out to the little bro, man. Keep doing your thing, Matt. Keep doing your thing. So we're going to get ready to wrap this thing up, but I got a few questions that I want to get to. So I want you to think about, if you can, because you got 1,000 wins, but what was the moment, do you think, as a coach, where you felt like, you know what, I can do this. Like, I can really do this, right? Because there's got to be some doubt. Like, can I lead? Can I lead? Was there a particular moment? Was there a particular timeout in the play that you drew? When did you know?
It was actually, honestly, it was probably my second year coaching, when all of a sudden I had the opportunity to reach out to some people to try to bring some players onto campus. Mm-hmm. And, when this whole New England prep school thing started, it was a very lily white community, and I used to go into places with my teams, and you could hear some rumblings because, growing up in the city, a lot of my contacts were the city. So, we were bringing a diverse program into some programs that were uncomfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Back then you didn't recognize it as much because you were playing so many college JVs were my first 10 to 15 years. But the program that was always synonymous with excellence when I came here was Worcester Academy. Mm-hmm. And that was the team that we lost to in the semifinals the year before. Mm-hmm. And we used to play them home and home every other year. So they came to our gym the following year undefeated. And we had a nice team. We just had a nice team. We had a kid, Dave Roberson, who ended up playing at Fordham. Mark Ferracci, who was roommates with Manute Bol at Bridgeport. This guy, Bobby Fezzik, who went to New Haven. And we just spanked them. Yeah. And our gym gets...
Yes, sir.
Raucous.
The best.
We just spanked them to death. And it was just like, you could even see the coach, Tom Blackburn, we became very friendly, was just kind of gave me a little up. Because, I'm sitting on the court talking to the kids. I've got turtlenecks on. I've got my sneakers on.
Right.
I wasn't dressed the typical coach at the time. I mean, I was a product of the 70s. That was a game, and after I won that game, I said, okay. And then, of course, the next day is I walk in. Now we have to get better. And actually, that was the only time we weren't invited to the New England Prep School tournament. It's because we owed some fee.
Right. Which
infuriated me because we would have won that year.
Right.
They ended up winning. And if I had my team, I think we would, if we were allowed to be in it, I thought it was a funky thing that Knepsack pulled off. But that was 41 years ago. I think I can get past it now. But still, when I think of those poor guys not being able to play in New England, it still kind of infuriated me to this day. It's like, but that was a game it was my second year when I said, and the place was packed. And back then, you'd probably have 30, 40 coaches in the gym. Now you don't get them. Like, you remember when you played Maine Central in Argentina.
Yes.
It was 30-something coaches sitting around in a packed house. And
the
biggest one was we had probably over 50 coaches one year when we played Academy and another time. Now everything is major showcases. And you get a half a dozen now, but that's why you go to all these major showcases around the world. But I would say that was one time, my second year, where I was like, I think we could do this. I think we could pull this off.
Nah, no doubt about it. And so, I mean, I don't want to put you in a position to say, your top 5 players of all time. I mean, I don't want to make anybody else jealous of me. But what I do want to ask is, how much longer? How much longer do you think? Like, are you going to ride this thing?
Well, it's fortunate. I know the head of the school. So, and my wife continues to love to live here. But you asked me who my best was. I said, well, I certainly had Michael. I had Matthew, my 2 sons, and I had you, my other son. So then we only have 2 other guys. We'll get together. We need a center and a scoring guard.
Yeah, listen, man, it's incredible, man. You brought up those MCI games and how incredible those games were, man. And, playing in games of that magnitude and you know what I mean? And, I know anybody that comes on here can talk about the guys that they had on their team. And I think that's the beauty of it, right? When you meet somebody who came after you, or, you can kind of compare, like everybody compares their teams to years before. And I think that's the beautiful thing. You got 2 of my guys there right now, Riley Moley and John Beagle. And, even like in that group text, I said, listen, man, every day I walk into that gym, you look at that 1992 banner. If you ain't leave St. Thomas More and put a banner on the wall, then
you guys were actually the closest team we ever had to being an undefeated team, and you lost that Maine Central game
at the buzzer
shot. But we watched the video. The boy shot that so deep he was out of bounds.
Let me tell you something, man. And it was the coolest.
Time shot.
Yeah, he was good though. He was listen. He was good, but
County Roads attacking.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I like to ask this question: if you were having a dinner at your house, hopefully you're not cooking. Give me 3 individuals, dead or alive, who you would like to have at that dinner.
Well, I'd certainly love to have my dad back.
Absolutely.
I would certainly love to have my dad back. And then, honestly, if I could sit down with Barack Obama, I think that would be as good an evening as possible. And then when you look at the world that I'm in, it would either be I got to go do an old school coach and either be John Wooden or Red Auerbach. So the guy who was most influential in my life, of course, my dad. Yeah. As I said, when a guy like Barack Obama, first off, I'd bring him into the gym and spank the living daylights out of him. and then we could really have a good conversation.
Right.
I think he's been a fascinating person for our society. And then certainly one of the 2 coaches. Yeah. It could be fascinating.
No question. And then my last question is always this: when it's all said and done, how does Jere Quinn want to be remembered?
Just a guy gave it his best. Did everything on it, the right way. And was honest. And as I said, I mentioned earlier, by the end of everything, I always wanted to be able to look everybody in the eye. I said, I hope I gave you my best. I mean, even last year when I was going through all that nonsense, I didn't miss a practice. So it's just, and I'm not so naive to recognize that somebody's going to come in next to me, after me, and be wonderful too, because there's a lot of young, wonderful, wonderful people. And sometimes I wonder, should I let some young guy come in and take this place over? And then 5 seconds later, I say, nah, not yet. Not yet.
No question. No, I appreciate that. How's the health? You know what I mean? Because you gave us all a scare last year. How's the health? Guillain-Barré
syndrome is a wild thing, but that's coming back. The feet feel like I can't, the rest of my body's fine, and the feet feel like the only thing that ain't swimming yet. But it'll figure that. Well, we'll figure it everything out. As they say, you just, live a regimented life, and you stay in shape, and you work out, and you'll get healthy. We all pass eventually. So, but I'm not ready to go yet. I got too much to do.
Nah, you damn right. You got too much to do, man. Coach, listen. I thank you so much for coming on here with me. Like I said,
I love you, buddy. Anytime.
I can't believe I even made it through without crying so much. But thank you for being, like I said, thank you for being a coach and a father figure and a mentor to, like I said, not just me, but so many of us. You'd be shocked at how much we continue to talk about you. Because you were super solid, man. I don't have to tell you I love you. You know that already. Tell the family I love them, and we will definitely talk soon.
Tell your so much better half I said hello to.
She is so much better than me. You're absolutely right. Listen, I overachieved too. You know what I mean? So I understand, right? She underachieved, I overachieved.
That's right. You and I will have our bonds forever.
Exactly. I totally get that. Coach, I love you, man, and I'll talk to you soon.
Back at you.
All right, baby.
Stay safe. Have a great holiday.
You too, baby.
Okay, thanks.